Welcome to another episode of Come Sit With Us here at EBS. As always, very happy to have you here with us today. Today, what I wanted to do was to share with you something that kind of came across here recently, in that I was having a meeting with several folks, and all these folks were, most all of them, very seasoned meditation practitioners. And they had a lot of experience of meditation under their belt. And in the course of conversation, it all kind of comes out that we were sharing something in common, and that was how difficult it seemed for us at this moment in time to maintain a steady practice of meditation. And one person kind of talked about it a little bit, and the other person said, yeah, me too. And then it was kind of like, yeah, it really is kind of a bit of a struggle these days sometimes. And it does kind of make you wonder a little bit, is it that, what goes on in the world around us, does that have an impact on us? Well, I think it would, most certainly. It would be very fair to say that we are going through some quite difficult times, with the COVID and all the world stuff and what have you. And that at times we have to kind of think back about our meditation practice and kind of make sure that we just don't lose touch with it altogether, And what I'm kind of reminded is I kind of ask myself, what drew me to meditation? What draws me to meditation? And I think that, and this would be, I think, a pretty fair thing to say, that for those of you that come to these Facebook Live sessions, whichever ones you visit, my guess is that you've had some experiences in meditation that have caused you to be drawn to that practice. And I'm reminded of a saying, it's like a moth drawn to the flame, in that you are just attracted to the light of that flame and you move towards it. There's something an experience that you've had, an awakening, something that caught your attention in such a way that you wanted to explore it more, and that the art of meditation was the path that you were choosing to try to explore that part of yourself a little bit more, go a little bit deeper, if you will. So if you think back in that moment when you had your aha experience, right? Maybe you've had a ton of them. Maybe they happen every day for you. Maybe you had one experience 20 years ago and it's so real to you, it's as if it just happened just moments ago. And that experience has opened a door that you just can't close, and that you are drawn to walk through that door. And so when we go through these tough times, and it is difficult or challenging to maintain a practice of meditation, because we are all busy people, it's always going to be that way. We always have things going on around us. We have our own personal dramas, all of that stuff. With all that going on, how do you find the time to sit down and give yourself 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes of meditation practice? And in this group that I was in, it was last night, and the analogy was made, and I love this analogy. It's kind of like we are a pond, and on the surface of the pond, the winds come and whip up the waves. And that's where all the distractions occur and all the chaos happens and all that stuff. But the deeper you go into the pond, the stiller, or more still, the water becomes, right? And we're drawn to that stillness. Something about that stillness is so fulfilling. It seems to transcend all of our limitations, all of the conflicts that we're in the midst of trying to figure out and trying to survive. And that stillness is what draws us in, draws us in, draws us in. And I know, I can speak from my own personal experience, that sometimes the chaos of those whipping waves on top causes me to forget that stillness that I touched upon at some point in time. And I drift away from my meditation practice. And so sometimes what we have to do, or we should consider doing, is coming back to that practice and trying something that, reminds us of why we're doing this, of why we are moved to find that stillness and such. And so I have to think that sometimes I may give 20 minutes, 15 minutes, a half hour, whatever, to meditation, but sometimes maybe I only give just a couple of minutes to meditation. There's a little routine that I have in the morning where I'm getting up, I'm getting dressed, and I sit in a chair and I have some books that I'm reading, and I just open up the blind, let the sun come in, and just for a couple of minutes, I just sit there and sort of go into that light meditative state, and it's not very formal at all, but what it serves to do is to kind of keep that flame burning, that desire to continue my practice, and to make sure I make the effort during the day, whether it's a big effort or whether it's a very gentle, small effort. But over time, these little tiny efforts, these little tiny things that we do to move closer to that center that we have of stillness, then the stronger we become in that practice, if you will. It is so easy for us to think that we are no good at this, that we are poor at meditation, and that we can't stop our mind from wandering around and on and on and on and on and on. And you and I both know that that is the monkey mind shouting in your ear, loud as can be, is don't leave me behind, right? Because every time we slow things down and what have you, then the monkey mind kind of starts to wonder, whoa, what about me over here, right? And those are those distracting thoughts that we somehow always kind of have to go through to get into that next stage of meditation. So long story short, today's meditation is simply, it is remembering, and maybe that's what we should call it, just remembering. Why is it that you are drawn to your practice of meditation? Maybe you are a very spiritual person. Maybe you're a religious person. Maybe you're none of that, and you're just seeking some sort of self-acknowledgement. I bet you put 100 people in a room and ask that question, what draws you to meditation? You should get about 100 different answers, and none of them are wrong. That's the beauty of it, just none of them are wrong. And if we can be clear to ourselves what draws us, then I think that we have a better ability to maintain that gentle practice that we bring to the table each day, right? Just each day. There's the formal meditation, of course, where we sit on a cushion, sit in our chair, and, give it 15 minutes, whatever it's going to be. But then there's also informal meditation, where when we're out in the community and we're in the midst of those chaotic waves and such, that we take just a second to stand still, take a breath, follow it all the way out, and relax and pay attention. That too is that meditation. And that too is that little bit of an effort that goes towards your practice of finding your place of stillness in there, okay? We all come to the table for different reasons. That's perfectly fine, really is. But we kind of come, I think, in search of something of the same kind of thing in a way. And I'm calling it that place of stillness, but you can call it whatever you want. But I kind of think maybe we're talking pretty close to the same kind of stuff when it comes down to it. So, all right. So today, it's just going to be a simple visualization, and it's a remembrance. Remember that time that you had your awakening. Maybe you were in church. Maybe you were driving down the road looking at a pretty sunset. Maybe you just had a huge fight with your most loved one, and after that you came to some sort of deep realization. We never know when these little occurrences, these awakenings, we never know when they're going to pop up and grab our attention. But we've all had them. We've all had them. Some of us are very cognizant of that. Others, maybe we don't pick up on it so much, but we kind of know it in a sense. So today, we want to recall that moment of your own awakening, however big, however small, that you think it was, Let's go back to that, because that is the point where you opened a door to begin the practice of meditation. You were the moth drawn to the flame, you know. And if you've been meditating for any length of time, then you do have a sense of that something that draws you to that practice. Okay? So let's give it a shot today. And I want to read something, though, that I came across and share with you. No effort is ever lost. No meditation is ever forgotten. Like the dripping of water on a stone, eventually a hole is made that lets the first rays of light in. Soon the effort and the meditation flow through you in a continuous stream, effortless. And so, gentle effort of meditating applied over time is a blessing. And we may not be the best at being very formal in our meditations, may not have the best posture, may not have the greatest setting, the practice, whatever it all might be, but it doesn't matter so much as we make that gentle, continuous effort to find our way towards that center of stillness. So let's remember today, what was it that drew you to meditation? Okay? See if you can remember that moment, that time. See if you can recall what that actually felt like. Because I think that if you think about it, it was an event that opened up something in you, and it probably gave you more of a quote-unquote profound insight or something that awakened you and draws you and still draws you today. Again, so, all right, guys. Let's go ahead and sit in our chairs or our cushions if you're on the floor, whatever the most comfortable for you. And as always, when we sit to meditate, the first thing that I start to become aware of is just my body, my physical body. Even as I say these words to you, there's an awareness that's shifting to my back, my legs, my hands, and my breathing starts to slow down a little bit. And that awareness of my physical self that I am living in becomes a little bit more pronounced. And being a person of some age, I can feel all those years in my body, all those little aches, those pains, and what have you, that all reside there. And as I slow it down, my breathing gets longer and slower. And I start to physically relax. And just allow my attention just to settle on that physical part of myself. And I just hang there for a minute and just feel that energy that's there. My breathing slows down. Perhaps I feel like I'm a little bit more awake now, a little bit more attuned. Just this by itself, this little meditation that we're doing right now, just on our physical form, is in itself a practice that we can do anytime, anywhere. I feel the energy around my body, and in a way, I begin to see it in my mind's eye. And as I see it, it begins to fill the room that I'm in. And now we're going to do just a simple body scan. And we're only going to touch upon maybe 3 or 4 places and just relax. I bring my attention to the base of my spine, my pelvic area. And as I breathe out, I just allow this to relax and to release. I feel this open up. As I do, I just allow it to open, I just allow it to flow through, and just to release. Next, I bring my attention up to my stomach, my lower back. As I breathe out, I just allow this to open, relax, release. Now I draw my attention up to my chest, between my shoulder blades. As I breathe out, I allow this area to open, to relax, to release. Take a deep breath in. I bring my attention up to my forehead, between my eyebrows. With each breath out, I just allow this to open, to relax, and to release. Now, what I want us to do for about the next 5 or 6 minutes is just recall that awakening that we had, that moment when we actually felt at peace with ourselves, the moment where there was no judgment, and that transcendent kind of acceptance that we touched on. And just recall that feeling in that moment. And then let's stand in that light just for a few minutes and just hold that light just for a few minutes. We'll all do it together because we've each had this, we've each shared this. Try to see it as clear as you can. Try to feel it as deep as you can. And just stand in that light. Okay, take a deep breath. Bring your awareness back to where you're sitting, the room that you're in. If your eyes are closed, slowly open them. And let's just take a second to feel that space around us, just to see if it's changed any. So as we recall those moments when we have awakened a little bit, we've had that experience that's a little bit transcendent, that sometimes it seems to me that that experience is more real than anything else. It seems so much closer to the truth, to what's really real, what's really important, than anything else that I think I've ever experienced before. And that's just for me, right? For you, you have to think back what that moment was and what it meant to you. And it's kind of like recalling the value of that experience and how much it means to you. And maybe we forget about it sometimes. Maybe it's long ago and in the past, and it started us on a meditative practice, but maybe we have since kind of lost touch with it a little bit. And so that thing that was there that started you on the path is still there. It hasn't gone anywhere. Maybe our attention has drifted a little bit, right? That's just how life is. But particularly in difficult times, which I can say we probably are in difficult times, that is when it is most important to recall those kind of things. Because what we want to bring to the table is hopefully that center of stillness, of peace, of understanding, of compassion to those around us. And if we don't recall those things, then what do we bring to the table? Our worries, our aggressions, our agitations, all that stuff. That's all we have to offer? Nah. If you're in that meditative practice, you have touched something. And just remember that, and that quality that you've touched, just allow it to kind of come through you. Just use your imagination. Imagine that quality flowing through you out to the people around you, And maybe you provide a service that so many of us are needing these days, right? Sometimes you might say the right word to the other person. Other times, maybe you don't say anything, but you stand there in compassion, and they feel it, and that's the game changer for them, okay? So in these kind of times, when it is so difficult to find time to sit and meditate, in these kind of times, we just have to remember what started us in the first place, what draws us to the practice, and allow that quality to flow through us a little bit, and let it be a service to others, in a sense. So that's the thought of the day, huh? We'll see how we can do. The challenge always is taking these things that we talk about and actually applying it. We understand it, let's say, but then, tomorrow, at some point during the day, find that moment just to breathe through and to recall that place of stillness in you. And then hopefully anchor it and be able to share some quality of it with those around you. And then you've had a great meditation, huh? All right, guys. Well, thank you again for coming today. We always appreciate you being part of our meditation family here at EBS. And stay in touch. And as always, thank you very much. And take care, guys. See you. Bye.